What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Slipstream, where we discuss everything motorsport and racing. I'm Ash.
I'm Trey.
I'm Sachet.
And today we're talking about the Nürburgring endurance racing and another feat of Max Verstappen. So first, let's get into it. It's a feeder racing series that's centered around the Nürburgring circuit and has been active since 1977 under the name VLN Endurance Championship Nürburgring until 2019, when the name change was implemented. So over 100 cars start in a single race period, and it's one of the highest race car concentrations in a single league. It's also one of the highest concentrations of manufacturers, with 30 present at a single event weekend. And all races except the Opel 6-hour ADAC Ruhr Cup race are 4-hour endurance races, and they offer a lot of opportunity for close contact racing and strategy mix-up mid-race, a lot like F1 and Formula E. And it's a one-off 24-hour race, which was in Bahrain in the 2006 season, allowing the series to call itself one of the most successful grassroots leagues in endurance racing despite its compact structure.
Yeah, so despite how national it is, it still has a pretty big worldwide reputation, and also has a reputation of having one of the longest laps in a single event, with 24,358 kilometers being covered all across the Nordschleife Ring. It goes into the forested area, and it has a pretty big reputation as well, unfortunately, for being one of the most lethal tracks out there. Of course, the most recent incident was actually with Jan Mardenborough when he lost control of his car. I believe it was on the Schwedenkreuz main straightaway, and he crashed into a spectator, God rest his soul, but Jan Mardenborough is doing better. And there are also a couple of main straightaways and chicanes apart from that, including the Annadorf Forest, Karrussel, and Wipperman, that are located right next up to the main streets and the highways in Germany. And as a bit of a point system breakdown, the cars are divided into classes based on how many entries a team has in terms of their driver count. So more drivers entering for a single team means that there are more chances to score points and a better opportunity to score points if you're a winner. So if you have one driver entering for a team, that driver gets 5 points if they win. 2, that means that the drivers get 7.5 and 2.5 points if they win and come in some other place in the points and don't DNF. And if there are 5 drivers, the winner gets 9, 10, 9.75, and 20, 9.95. So I don't know why they do this kind of odd formula of rounding up.
Yeah, it seems very peculiar.
It seems very, it's very peculiar and seems very particular for a racing league where you could just round it up and, leave it as is. Yeah. But there are 7 types of vehicle classes, which make it, in my personal opinion, one of the most objectively diverse series in motorsport. There is a VLM production car, a 24-hour special, so kind of like the one that they raced in Bahrain in 2006, Class AT, a cup class, individual classes if, there is some sort of outside manufacturer that doesn't race under the normal GT cars, and Group H cars, which are older cars that have been racing as late as 2009. So some of the older cars that follow current regulations, still durable, still viable, still versatile, still in it.
Oh, yes. And so getting into this race a little bit, we have Max Verstappen, who is a big name in this racing series, and he took his week off of Formula One racing last week to race at the Nürburgring and claimed victory with an astonishing 2-minute gap to team principal teammate Klaus Abelin, making it the first 1-2 finish for the Ferrari team in this German-based series. And so actually, it managed the car better in slick, dry conditions rather than his trademark wet. And it's a bit of a juxtaposition as to how he races or how he manages race conditions versus in Formula One racing.
Yeah, and I just gotta say, Ferrari, again, they are succeeding in the GT and endurance racing series,
Absolutely.
But somehow when it comes to Formula racing, I'm gonna say this again, and I don't care how tired you guys get of this, they can never get it right in a literal rocket-shaped car where they have all the resources, all the funds, all the support, all the patriotism in the world to support that, and they still can't get it right. But they can get it right with a team principal teammates. And look, I know I know that there is a bit of an advantage when it comes to somebody who not only manages the team, but also races for the team. But it goes without saying, like, have a little bit of backbone.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I do think they should be shifting, or at least putting more focus into the other racing types. But, it is what it is. Going over Max Verstappen's history with these endurance cars. So in 2022, he tested that year's model of a Honda Super GT at the Motegi circuit in Tochigi, Japan. And it's part of a celebration of the Japanese Thanks Day celebration, where he and other international stars got to celebrate the first running of this track since COVID. And so all other star pilots include the Indy 500 winner Takuma Sato and multi-champion in the MotoGP Marc Marquez.
A.k.a. Ash's future husband.
Just my favorite racer in
Yes.
MotoGP. It should be noted that also because Red Bull has close ties to Honda as a supplier and made a good mojo with them back in Formula One back in 2019, especially after a Honda engine disaster. In previous years, Max Verstappen sees a lot of access to the motorsport world in Japan, and in many regards, racing, manufacturing, and oversight.
Yeah.
And it's very helpful for Max Verstappen either way, because in this racing series, the manufacturers are actually kind of tailored to Max Verstappen, making him even faster than in Formula One.
Yeah, and I mean, that's been the controversy regarding his Formula One career. People have been saying for years, although it wasn't really believed in the early 2020, so earlier on this decade, that the car was tailored around him, and everything that was manufactured was tailored to be his style and suit what he
and that's
prefers
exactly
in
what I
racing.
believe.
And that is exactly what actually has been proven, because if you look at the contrast between Yuki Tsunoda's current season with Red Bull and Max Verstappen's current season with Red Bull, it becomes pretty evident that only the Dutch Lion can prowl those circuits.
So
Indeed.
the Red Bull car itself is not tailored to either driver. It's actually just a bad car in general. But because of Max Verstappen's skills, he just proves to be the best of all time. But in this racing format, this car is actually tailored around him, which is why we're going into his win here. So this past May, he drove the Ford Mustang GT around a small circuit in South France. And the name of the circuit and purpose of the test can't be found, as this was a more private test. So Chris Harris, the manager of this test Mustang GT, is a vehicle that's quite happy with this sort of driving. And it's a track-ready weapon. And so Max Verstappen immediately gets up to speed with this power delivery and the fantastic damper performance over the rough French surface and the power of its standard carbon ceramic brakes, just as he gets up to speed along with track.
That's what he said in his official blog, Ford from the Road, by the way.
Yes. And it's seen to be blistering quick when applying the throttle, simultaneously testing the limits of the car, and himself driving the car and exploring the grip in all the proper places. And it made a memorable impression on these manufacturers.
Yeah, so basically, even though Red Bull themselves have been tailoring to Max Verstappen in the formula racing world, Max Verstappen himself can tailor his own needs and translate them to whatever car he drives. And we've seen that being pretty evident in the GT world. And actually, I forgot to put this in as a part of my research, but I believe it was a clip of Max Verstappen when he first joined the Toro Rosso family back in 2015. He drove, I believe it was one of the Ford GT cars up Belgian Spa with his father, Verstappen, present. And you could just tell that his dad was like gripping the side handle of the car, just praying that his son does not crash. But he actually came out pretty well. And keep in mind, in 2015, Max Verstappen was 17 years old.
I was just about to mention that. He was 17-year-old Max was in that car with his dad, and it was quite a funny video. But it was his first time in the car, and he drove it with the experience of, I don't know, someone with years.
30-year-old, honestly.
On that car.
And didn't he become the youngest person ever to receive his FIA license tailored for Formula One racing?
Yes.
And this is we're kind of going off topic. I could rant about Max Verstappen all day long. He's a great guy. No matter what my mom says about him, I will always see him as one of the greatest drivers in motorsport history. But this achievement for Max Verstappen to win the 4 hours of Barbarossapreis comes in the midst of a slew of events for him that have been going great this month. So the first should be mentioned that he took his first victory in 5 months since the Japanese Grand Prix back in early April at the Italian Grand Prix on September 7th. And he took that victory with a solid, I believe, 13-second gap to second place.
In Formula One racing.
In Formula One racing. This is in Formula One racing. That's what we should specify. And he began his near flawless run of testing GT cars on the 13th, so literally 6 days after he claimed victory in F1, he started testing cars in GT in order to get his license for that race. And he earned his license on the 27th. And actually, in between that time, he achieved a Grand Slam victory at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, which we actually covered back then. I mean, not back then, a week ago. And he took pole position, led every single lap from start to finish, was never really in any major trouble regarding his rivals.
It was quite an easy race for him.
Yeah, it was quite an easy race, but we should also keep in mind that some other, elements kind of played a factor in his dominance, including George Russell feeling ill that day, so he couldn't really extract all the physical performance from himself into the car. Antonelli obviously was never going to, catch up to him at this rate.
Antonelli in fourth was never going to push up that high.
And Sainz, even though he locked out the front row, he's in a Williams for crying out loud, so he could extract the best performance and still get second place.
That was amazing on his part.
Still amazing, though. Her second future husband, by the way. I got to poke fun at you some way. But anyways, the last, I guess we could call it an achievement. He celebrated his 28th birthday 2 days ago on September 30th.
Yep.
So happy late birthday, Max Verstappen.
Happy belated birthday, Max Verstappen.
You're reaching Unk status by the day. But yeah, any conversations about how you guys think Max Verstappen has been able to translate his skills from Formula Racing leagues into endurance racing, and at that, how could he translate that into other leagues of racing, like on motorbikes and rally cars, or even if they come up with a moped series of racing, how do you think he would be translate to his Formula skills onto that?
The way I think it would translate, what I know about Max Verstappen, what I've seen from that video clip you mentioned earlier, is that he's obviously very passionate about what he does, and he has all that years of experience, despite what his dad might think in that video, holding on for dear life. But I mean, the determination, passion, and grit he's shown on the track in whatever league he's been a part of over these last few years, I think if he just continues that up, as well as, implement a lot of the tricks he's been using, such as, being very strategic with the throttle, simultaneously testing the limits of whatever car he's given, understanding basically the interface of the car, I think he'll do wonders for other things in the future, and even with rally cars and stuff. It may take some time to get used to, for sure, but I mean, I definitely see the potential in him.
Well, I mean, in his interviews, he's already as ice cold as Kimi Räikkönen, so he has a chance at rally, no doubt.
Oh, yes. I'm actually kind of interested, because we've only seen Max Verstappen racing in different forms of cars. I'm actually wanting to see how he uses this talent in terms of the MotoGP. Because I don't think I've ever seen him ride a motorcycle. He's never really tried it before. And I just want to see how well he picks up because, again, as you were talking about, with the throttle and everything, it's quite different in a motorcycle, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to know. I just want to see how fast he picks it up. Will he be another contender against the Marquez brothers?
I know this is very specific and kind of nitpicky for me to say, but I want to see how much he rages when he gets a penalty and has to take the off-road at half speed and lose average of 3 to 4 seconds per driver. It would be so funny to hear his radio.
Oh, yes.
And it'd be funny to hear any radio for that matter because it's not very common in MotoGP.
Oh,
All you see is just...
Absolutely.
I mean, in Formula One itself, he's always against most of the penalties, and he's very upset when he has to serve them, and he usually goes against team orders for their strategies to serve those penalties. So I just want to see if he would go along with those penalties in MotoGP, or is there any way he can go, like, make a loop around it, find a loophole? We'll see.
Honestly, I think just purely because of his mentality, he will be able to adjust to anything that he sets his mind to, even outside of the motorsport world.
Oh, I agree, 100%.
And I think this kind of stems from a pretty dark topic if you're interested in discussing it. So if you guys didn't know, Max Verstappen suffered an incredibly abusive childhood at the hands of his father. His father and his mother,
both,
they got divorced when he was a very young kid, and he went off to live with his father in order to pursue his dream of motorsport racing. And obviously his father got into a lot of altercations both with him and with other parents and drivers. Like, he talked about incidents where he saw his dad stab a mechanic with a fork.
Oh, yeah.
And how he was left at a gas station. This is like the most infamous situation. He was left at a gas station when he was 12 years old because he blundered the go-karting championship on the last lap. And obviously he got his dad to come back. Well, actually, I think it was his mom who got his dad to come back.
His mom came back to get him. There was also another incident where he was pretty upset about a race when he was, I think, 8 or 9, something like that. And he just kept his helmet on the entire time because he was afraid of his dad. And I just find that really heartbreaking. And that's got him to where he is now because of all of the training that his dad made him do since in childhood. But I mean, that's not the case for all drivers. Most of Formula One drivers have been go-karting since they were, toddlers. I know Carlos Sainz was in diapers when his dad put on his little fireproof and everything, his little racing suit.
I want to see a photo of that. It's so
adorable. There's so many videos.
Oh my gosh.
And all of these other Formula One drivers have been in go-karts since they were 2 years old. So they are at this stage because of their 20+ years of experience. So,
and I think that this is a bit of a bold take, but Max Verstappen's dad, Jos Verstappen, is extremely lucky that his son didn't grow up to be the abusive a-hole that he is and will pretty much always be. Like, I don't know if you know this, but I take the topic of abuse very, very seriously because I've seen how it, affects my dad. And obviously my dad didn't want to be the same person when he had me. So again, he's a military man. He's very forthright. He's very righteous. And I think the same thing could be said about Max Verstappen, especially considering the fact that he has 2 daughters. He's raising 2 women.
And we have discussed this in previous episodes, but Max Verstappen is a great dad.
Yeah, he really is a great, genuine dad.
He really loves Penelope and Lily. So.
Oh, yeah. And if you've seen, have you seen, the clips of his live stream when Penelope would be, poking around
Of course,
about
who
him,
hasn't seen that?
That is my personal ultimate goal.
Oh,
that is my personal ultimate goal. But case in point, Verstappen, he's a great guy. He recently achieved something absolutely astounding. I believe he could honestly do it again because think about it. He's thinking about retiring from Formula Racing in the next 5 years, which honestly he could go on for another 10 and nobody would bat an eye.
Easily surpass Alonso. That's a controversial take, but so after retiring from Formula One, I definitely expect him to see him in other formats, just as we see Alonso in other formats. But yeah, amazing win by Verstappen over this week. So.
Yep, and I think that about wraps it up for this episode. So make sure you guys tune in for next episode when we talk about the controversy of penalties in Formula 2.
Yes.
And once again, make sure you follow us on Spotify, subscribe to the YouTube channel, make sure you catch us on Instagram for all notifications. And once again, I'm Trey.
I'm Ash.
I'm Sachet.
And we will see you next time. Peace out.
Bye-bye.